My brother's wife accused me of touching her. My own brother beat me. My wife left, and I was homeless. 7 years she's back at my doorstep begging for help. Hey Reddit, I, 38 male, have been carrying this for a while. Years ago, a false accusation from someone in my own family on Christmas Eve that turned my whole life upside down. I lost my marriage, my job, and everyone I thought had my back. It took years to rebuild from scratch. I kept quiet, kept my distance, until recently, when the person who started it all came back into my life, asking for help. I saw a chance to finally make things right, on my terms. Here's what happened. Christmas Eve used to mean something to my family. Big table, loud voices, too much food. That year, it was at my parents' place. My wife Vivian, 35 female, and I showed up around 4 p.m. I was still in a button-up from work because I didn't have time to change, and she was wearing this red dress that she'd probably post about on Instagram later. She was always like that. Picture perfect on the outside, all about appearances. Simon, 40 male, and Krista, 36 female, were already there. My older brother and his wife. He was in one of his smug moods, throwing around fake laughs and half compliments. Krista? Same as always. Dressed like she was going to a bar, not a family thing. Tight black top, lipstick too dark, trying way too hard for attention. She hugged me a second too long when we walked in. I felt Vivian tense up next to me, but neither of us said anything. We all sat down in the dining room. Parents at the ends of the table, Simon next to my dad like always, me across from him. Vivian and Krista sat side by side, which was a mistake in hindsight. The small talk was standard. Weather, travel, someone's new car. Simon kept finding ways to bring up the house renovation they were doing, throwing in little digs about how expensive it was. My dad ate that up. Simon could do no wrong in his eyes. At some point during dinner, my mom asked me to grab the sparkling water from the fridge in the garage. No big deal. I got up and walked through the kitchen toward the back. I opened the door to the garage and felt the cold air hit my face. The drinks were in a cooler in the corner. I bent down, pulled out the bottle, turned around, and Krista was standing in the doorway. She leaned against the frame like she was posing. "You always disappear when things get boring," she said. I didn't say anything, just started walking back. She stepped in my path. She looked at me real close and said, "You ever think maybe you married the wrong sister-in-law?" My stomach dropped. I said, "Get out of the way." She laughed, but it sounded weird. "I see the way you look at me," she said. "Don't act like I don't notice." I moved past her without saying anything else. I wasn't going to give her anything. She followed me back to the kitchen, but I didn't look at her again. I handed my mom the bottle, sat down next to Vivian, and kept eating like nothing happened. Krista returned to her seat 10 minutes later. Her eyes were red. She looked like she'd been crying. The rest of the dinner went on. We did presents early, as usual. Vivian got me socks and some shaving stuff. I gave her a gift card to her favorite spa. Krista was quiet. Simon didn't seem to notice anything was off. Then it happened. Krista stood up, knocked her chair back, and started sobbing. Everyone froze. She pointed at me and said, "He tried to touch me. In the garage." My fork hit the plate. Vivian looked at me like I just murdered someone. "What is she talking about?" I said, "That's not... No." She came on to me. I said, "No." Krista fell to her knees. "He grabbed me." I said, "No." He tried. She didn't finish. She didn't have to. Simon lunged across the table and tackled me onto the floor. Before I could even get a word out, he punched me in the jaw. My head hit the hardwood. I saw flashes. My dad pulled him off barely. Vivian was screaming at me. My mom was crying. Krista was wailing like someone died. As I stood up wiping blood from my lip, Simon pointed at me with his hand still clenched and yelled, "You've always been a sick bastard. I should have known you'd do something like this." I turned to my parents, still stunned. "You're really just gonna let this happen?" My mom shook her head and looked away. My dad didn't even blink. "You're not my son," he said. "You're horrible. How could you do that in our house? To your own family?" My chest felt hollow. "You're all insane," I said. I looked at Vivian. "You really believe this?" "She wouldn't lie about something like this," she said. "You're disgusting. You're choosing her over me? She's family. She's your brother's wife," she snapped. "I'm your husband. Not anymore." I looked at all of them, my brother, my wife, my parents, and realized nobody was going to say a word in my defense. Nobody asked for my side, not even once. I left, bleeding, without my coat. My car was parked behind Simon's, so I had to walk down the street before I could even call a ride. I didn't go back for my stuff that night. I didn't go back at all. That night, some half-asleep Uber driver dropped me off near a grocery store a few miles from my old place. I didn't have anywhere else to go, no one to call. I sat behind the store near the loading dock, leaned against a wall next to some busted-up pallets, and just stared at the pavement. My shirt was wrinkled, dried blood still on my lip, and I hadn't even realized I left without a jacket. I had my phone at 12%, my wallet, and maybe $200 in cash. That's it. I slept behind the building that night. Bare concrete. No blanket. Every time a delivery truck pulled in, or a trash lid slammed, I woke up. My neck locked up by morning. My ribs were sore where Simon hit me. Jaw hurt too. Didn't want to blow my savings on a motel yet. Didn't even know how bad things were gonna get. Next day, I texted Vivian. We need to talk. She left it on red. I checked our joint account. I already knew, but seeing it still sucked. She'd transferred everything out. Checking, savings, even the emergency fund we agreed never to touch. Must have moved it all to her personal account before things blew up. I still had some money in my personal account. Around $3,000. It was separate from the joint one. I used it for side gigs, or whenever I didn't want Vivian seeing every charge. Nothing sneaky, just stuff like birthday gifts or groceries when I didn't feel like explaining. She didn't know it existed. So technically, I wasn't broke. But it sure didn't feel like I was okay. I called her. Straight to voicemail. Left one message. She never called back. I found the cheapest motel I could. $46 a night. Door barely locked, bathroom light flickered, and the heater made a clicking noise every 8 seconds. But it was a place to sleep and shower. I paid for 3 nights using part of my personal savings. Within 2 days, word was spreading. One of my cousins texted me, "Did you really try something with Krista? Tell me it's not true." I didn't answer. I didn't know who else they told, but it spread fast. Not allegedly, not, we're still figuring it out. Just full on, he did this. I wasn't just being talked about. I was being trashed. Then came the call from work. 3 days after Christmas, HR rang me. Not even my manager. Just the corporate guy. We've been made aware of a serious allegation, he said. I told him there were no charges, no police, no investigation. It was a lie. A personal thing in the family. Regardless, given the nature of your role and public image, we have to let you go. Effective immediately. 5 years at that job. Gone in a 2-minute call. I didn't even get to clear my desk. The next day I called my parents. My mom didn't answer. My dad did. One word. What? I said, I just need 5 minutes. He cut me off. You need help. We raised you better than this. Don't call again. Then hung up. I stared at my phone for a full minute. Then I called Simon. Straight to voicemail. Called again. Blocked. I didn't try a third time. I texted Vivian again. You know me. You know I didn't do that. She saw it. Never replied. One of my old high school friends messaged me. Just saw something about you. Hope it's not true. Damn, man. That was the nicest thing anyone said. A cousin texted me too. If there's more to the story, now's the time to speak up. But I can't defend you if you stay silent. I didn't respond. What was the point? They already picked a side. Everywhere I went, I felt like people were staring. Maybe they weren't. But when you're dealing with an accusation like that, it feels like you've got a target on your back. Doesn't matter if nothing was proven. People hear that word, and it's over. You're labeled. Vivian dropped off the car a few days later. Parked it outside the motel. No message. No explanation. Just tossed me away like trash. I tried picking up cash jobs, Craigslist gigs, cleaning junk, landscaping. Nothing steady. I started sleeping in the car sometimes. Public parks, quiet parking lots, wherever wouldn't get me towed. Mid-January, I got a message from my old neighbor. You got a letter here from a law firm. I told him to open it. Vivian was filing for divorce. Said I abandoned the residence. She wanted everything. The apartment, furniture, even our damn kitchen appliances. I didn't fight it. No lawyer, no backup. Signed it. Mailed it back. Whatever. Not one person in the family called to ask what actually happened. Not one. They just sided with Krista, nodded along with Simon, and kept it moving like I never existed. By the end of January, I gave up staying nearby. What was I even doing? Trying to hold on to what? I had no job, no name, no defense. I was just some guy in a beat-up Corolla that nobody trusted anymore. So I packed what little I had left and drove west. Didn't have a destination, just didn't want to be anywhere near all that mess anymore. I ended up in Phoenix. I didn't pick it for any big reason. It was warm. It was far. It was quiet. Seemed like a place to disappear without drawing attention. It didn't feel like a new beginning. Just less noise. No family. No wife. No job. just me and what was left. And at that point, that was all I had. I drove into Phoenix on a tank running below E and no clue what I was doing. Picked a motel off the highway that charged weekly. $60 a night if you paid up front. No ID check, no questions, just cash. Room smelled like bleach and cigarettes. Shower barely had pressure, but it had a door and 4 walls, which at that point was luxury. Next morning, I hit gas stations and grocery stores asking for work. Most just shook their heads. A few took my number out of pity. One guy gave me a flyer for day labor down by the industrial area. Said they needed people to load trucks and do cleanup. I showed up there the next day around 6 a.m. Nobody talked. Just a dozen guys standing in hoodies and busted boots waiting for the foreman to point and grunt. The guy running it was named Ray. Wore steel toes and looked like he chewed gravel for breakfast. No patience, no fake smiles. But he gave me a shot. Told me to grab a shovel and clean around the dumpster area. I worked the whole day without stopping. Didn't even take a lunch break. Just wanted to be useful. At the end, he handed me $80 cash and said, "You want to come tomorrow, come at 6 again." That was it. No application, no HR talk, just work and money. For a few weeks, that was my routine. Wake up at 5, drag myself to Ray's site, do whatever they needed, sweep, lift, clean, unload. Go home, eat whatever was cheap, pass out. I didn't talk to anyone. Didn't have the energy. My phone was basically just a clock now. No texts, no calls, no reminders. Nothing from Viviane, nothing from family. Then Ray started trusting me with more stuff. Small security gigs on the weekend, just watching empty lots so people wouldn't dump trash or steal copper wire. Wasn't glamorous, but it paid better than shoveling rebar off concrete. After a while, he asked if I wanted to learn the real stuff. Surveillance setups, CCTV installs. It was all cash work and not exactly through the books, but I said yes without blinking. He said he needed someone reliable who could wire up cameras without frying them. I watched YouTube videos at night, practiced with old hardware he let me borrow, and figured it out. 2 months in, I was his go-to guy for setups. The hours were rough and sometimes I had to sleep in the van, but the pay was steady. I started keeping a notebook with every layout and camera type I learned. That's when I met Lily. Ray had a side contract for a storage facility just outside Glendale. Place had issues with break-ins, and they wanted to upgrade everything. Motion sensors, cameras, lighting. I showed up early like usual, but this time Ray wasn't there yet. Instead, I see this girl messing with the fuse box. Hoodie, gloves, tool belt. Looked like she belonged on a construction site, not some dusty backlot. She glanced up and said, "You here for the cameras?" I nodded. "Yeah. You?" She said, "Electric. Name's Lily." No small talk after that. We both did our thing. She ran wire, I mounted gear. She corrected me once when I almost drilled into a support beam. No sass, just a heads up. I respected that. We worked together on and off over the next few weeks. Same gigs, same sites. She was always early, always had extra tools, and always carried a backpack full of protein bars. One time, she saw me eating gas station peanuts and tossed me a bar without saying a word. We didn't talk about our pasts. Just tools, jobs, tech, wiring routes. Nothing personal. I like that. After a while, she started showing me how to build custom mounts, do better cable runs, and hide stuff in plain sight. One day, I asked how she got into this line of work. She shrugged and said, "Bad ex. Needed a job. Learned fast." I nodded and said, "Same." That was it. That was the moment we clicked. Not in a romance movie kind of way. Just in that, you're not going to ask dumb questions or pity me kind of way. By mid-spring, Ray got us both on a project wiring up cameras for a chain of parking lots. Paid well, long hours. Some nights we worked till 2 a.m., slept in the van, and went right back at it by 7. She didn't complain once, just turned the music up and passed me tools. I saved up enough to move out of the motel and into a tiny studio near a laundromat. Rent was steep, but I split it with another guy from the site who barely spoke English and worked night shifts. We saw each other maybe twice a week. It worked. I wasn't rich, not even close. But for the first time since everything went sideways, I felt stable. I had a routine. I had income. I wasn't just surviving anymore. And Lily, she became the only person I trusted. We didn't label anything, but we had each other's backs. She didn't ask about my past, and I didn't ask about hers. It just worked. Still, even as things settled down, I couldn't forget. I kept the screenshots, the text logs, the old bank statements. I saved everything. Not because I wanted revenge, at least not yet, but because I refused to let their lie become my story forever. I wasn't the monster they made me out to be. And someday, I was going to prove it. It took 5 years. Not overnight. Not even over months. Just slow rebuilding. One job at a time. One skipped meal at a time. One moment of pretending I was okay when I wasn't. But 5 years later, I was living in a 2-bedroom apartment. Decent place. Clean walls, no leaks, quiet neighbors. I had a garage downstairs I used for storage and tools. The AC worked. That was all I needed. Business was stable. I had enough clients to keep me working full-time doing private surveillance and camera setups. It wasn't glamorous, but it was solid money. Couple small businesses, a few landlords, and even one school district, thanks to Lily helping me design a better perimeter system. I wasn't rich, but I could breathe. No more peanut butter sandwiches and dollar ramen every night. Lily was still around. We never put a label on anything, but she was the closest thing to a partner I'd ever had. She worked side by side with me when I needed help, knew her way around wiring and firmware, and didn't ask questions about the past. Just showed up and got things done. I hadn't spoken to Simon, Vivian, or my parents since the day they kicked me out. Not once. I wasn't hiding. I just didn't care to knock on doors that slammed shut on me. The only person from that past who still popped into my head was Krista. Not because I missed her, but because I couldn't stop wondering why. Why lie? Why ruin someone's life and walk away like it was nothing? Then she showed up. Random number on my phone. I usually don't answer them. Something told me to that day. "Hey," she said, like she was trying not to cry. "It's Krista." I said nothing. I'm in Phoenix," she continued. I didn't know who else to call. Still quiet on my end. "I really need someone to talk to, please." I didn't say yes. I just gave her a time and place. Public spot, corner booth at a diner I knew had cameras in case things got weird. She showed up wearing a baggy sweatshirt and jeans, hair pulled back, no makeup, looked like she hadn't slept in a week. And yeah, she was pregnant. Obvious. She tried to hide it with her arms crossed, but I saw the bump. She sat across from me, fidgeting with a straw wrapper. Didn't order anything. "I know I'm probably the last person you want to see," she started. "You got that right." She bit her lip, then glanced around. "Can we just talk, please?" I didn't answer, just stared. "I'm pregnant," she said finally, keeping her voice low. "It's not Simon's." She didn't cry, didn't try to sugarcoat it. "He doesn't know," she added. "I haven't told him." My eyes didn't flinch. "I made a mistake. The guy bailed when I told him I was pregnant. Now I'm stuck. I don't want to keep it, but I don't have enough saved for the abortion. I tried applying for help, but everything's slow or backed up." "You want money?" I said. "I just need enough to get it done. I'm not asking for anything more, I swear. I didn't know where else to go." I stayed silent. Let her stew in that. "You were always good at fixing stuff," she said. "I thought maybe—" I cut her off. "Come to my place tomorrow, noon." She looked surprised. "You're serious?" "Don't bring anything. We'll talk more then." She nodded slowly, like she didn't expect me to agree. "Okay." I walked out before she could say anything else. As soon as I got back to my truck, I called Lily. "You know the front room camera?" I asked. "Yeah. Update firmware and check the audio feed. I'm expecting a guest. You want live storage or just local?" "Both. Full backup, timestamp everything." She didn't ask who. Just said she'd be there in an hour. The next morning, I cleaned the place, vacuumed, wiped the counter. Nothing too spotless, just normal. I double-checked the corner cam near the TV. The mic worked. You could hear everything clear as day. A second one was mounted behind the coat rack, facing the couch. Invisible unless you knew where to look. I set the living room up so she'd sit where both cameras had a clean view. I didn't care if it looked staged. I just wanted the audio clean and her face in the shot. At noon sharp, she knocked. I let her in. She looked around like she thought someone else would be there. "Want water or anything?" I asked. "Number, I'm okay." We sat. I stayed in the armchair. She sunk into the couch like her legs were giving out. "I appreciate this," she started. "Really? You said you needed help," I said. She nodded. I panicked. I didn't think it'd end up like this. The guy I was seeing, he freaked out when I told him. Deleted everything. Blocked me. I'm almost 4 months in. Time's running out. You said you don't want to keep it. I can't. I'm not ready. I don't have money. And I can't tell Simon. I tilted my head. He's your husband, though? He is. But if he finds out, I'm dead. I didn't answer. Just let the silence sit there. I'm not looking to make things worse, she said. I thought maybe you could help me this once. I don't have anybody. Why me? She looked down at her hands. Because I know you're not cruel. She didn't know me anymore. I stood up. I'll think about it. She looked up, surprised again. Come back tomorrow. I'll let you know. She nodded slowly. Thank you. As soon as she left, I backed up the footage, pulled both angles, extracted the audio, and ran it through Lily's editor. Saved 3 copies. 1 to my external drive, 1 to the cloud, 1 to my office server. No chance of losing it. This wasn't just dirt. It was the first layer of truth, and I was just getting started. I didn't ask Krista to come back twice just because I needed time. I did it because pushing for too much at once would have made her suspicious. She already looked jumpy during the first visit. If I cornered her right then and there, she'd have vanished again before I got what I needed. So I played it patient, gave her just enough warmth to think I was softening. She showed up the next afternoon wearing the same clothes. Maybe slept in them. Her eyes were puffy, hair tied back like she didn't even bother looking in a mirror. She brought a small tote bag with her, but I had no intention of letting her stay. I called the clinic here, I told her as soon as she sat down. They've got availability next week. Costs higher than I expected, but manageable. Her eyes lit up. You really did? I nodded. Yeah, but I need to know everything. Not for judgment or anything. Just so I don't end up dragged into something legal. She froze for a second. What do you mean? Is Simon gonna come looking for me if he finds out you're here? Will he blame me? I asked casually, like it was a reasonable concern. No, she said quickly. He doesn't even know I'm in town. You sure? I swear. He thinks I'm staying with my cousin in Flagstaff. I let that hang in the air, then stood up and walked to the kitchen. Gave her time to settle into the silence. She followed with her eyes, probably unsure of where this was going. I came back with 2 glasses of water, handed her one, then sat across from her. Krista, I said. Why me? And don't say that I'm not cruel or that crap. She blinked. What? You could have called anyone. Friend, family, church. But you came to the guy your story almost got arrested years ago. She shifted on the couch, glanced down at the carpet. I didn't know who else to call, she said. I didn't plan this. You didn't answer the question. There was a beat of silence. Then she sighed. Because I knew you'd still listen, she mumbled. I knew you weren't as cold as you wanted everyone to think. I leaned back and kept my expression neutral. She needed to keep talking. I know what I did, she said. Voice lower now. Back then, it wasn't supposed to go that far. I didn't say anything. I just wanted you to stop rejecting me, she said finally. It messed with my head. We were at that dinner. You kept acting like I didn't exist. I wasn't thinking. You said I assaulted you? I know. You called me dangerous. Said I followed you, grabbed you. I didn't mean for it to become that serious. I was scared. Of what? Of Simon. Of him finding out I hit on you. She buried her face in her hands. I thought if I said you came on to me before you tell on me, it would just go away. He'd just get mad at you, not me. I didn't think he'd disown you. Too late. The camera had it all. I kept the air calm. Didn't react. Didn't even nod. Just leaned forward and asked, so it was all a lie? She didn't look up. Just gave the tiniest nod. My fists stayed on my knees, clenched under the table. I stood up and grabbed a small notepad off the counter. Scribbled a clinic address and number on it. Handed it to her. That's where I made the appointment, I said. Next Thursday, 10 a.m. If you still want it, I'll cover it. But that's it. She looked stunned. You will? Just this once. She nodded slowly. I'll be there. Don't be late. She thanked me. Again. Like I was doing her a favor. As soon as she left, I locked the door, backed up the footage, and forwarded it straight to Lily. I labeled the files. Day 1, pregnancy admission. Day 2, false accusation confession. Each had audio and 2 camera angles. Clean visuals, clear voice, time-stamped. Stored across 3 drives and 2 cloud systems. That night, Lily came by. She didn't say anything until she watched the entire Day 2 footage. She really thought you'd help her? She asked when it ended. She still does. And now? Now we let her keep thinking that, I said. You're not going to blow it up yet? I shook my head. Not yet. First, we make sure it hits the people who buried me in the ground. We spent the rest of the evening putting together a timeline. Email drafts, old texts I'd saved, surveillance backups from when I was kicked out. Even a digital copy of the police report. I had everything laid out. The lie, the fallout, the aftermath. The next step was getting it to the right audience. Krista's confession wouldn't just be some random video online. It had to go straight to the people who needed to see it. Simon, Vivian, my parents. No middleman, no deniability, and no warning. I wasn't going to send it yet. First, I wanted to make sure it landed so hard they'd never forget it. The plan was simple. 1 video, One email, one shared folder. But before I pulled the trigger, I needed one more piece. I needed proof that they'd never even tried to hear my side, that they were so set on believing her, they never looked back. And lucky me, some of that already existed. My old phone, still working, had the last messages I sent the night I got kicked out. I pulled up the only texts they sent before cutting me completely. Me. Please. I didn't do anything. Just talk to me. Vivian. You disgust me. Don't ever come near me again. Simon. You're dead to me, you bastard. Mom. You're not my son. I screenshotted them. Tagged them in a folder. Family reactions. 5 years ago. Once I had that, I knew it was ready. All I had to do now was set the trap. And next time Krista walked through my door, she was going to bury herself. I just had to give her the right shovel. I didn't contact her for a few days after that second visit. Let her sweat a little. When I finally texted her back, I said the clinic wanted one more form filled out in person before confirming the appointment. That I could print it out if she dropped by. She agreed. No questions asked. I made sure the cameras were recording the moment she stepped in. She walked in, holding a coffee cup and a folded hoodie, acting casual like we'd been lifelong friends. Didn't even ask why the form couldn't be emailed. While she sat down at the table, I grabbed a fake packet I printed off Google. Clinic logos, blank lines, whatever. Just something to keep her there long enough. I was thinking, I said, handing her the pen, if you're really doing this, maybe it's time you came clean. Just for closure. Get it off your chest. She raised a brow. I already told you everything. Yeah, but say it out loud. For real. Like, everything. No lies. She rolled her eyes and gave a tired laugh. Is this part of some therapy thing? Just do it. She took a sip of her coffee, shrugged, and leaned back. Fine. I was pregnant by someone who wasn't my husband. I panicked. You were the only one I could think of. I knew I screwed up. And yeah, I made up that crap about you 7 years ago, because I was scared Simon would find out I hit on you. And you knew they'd believe you. Of course I did. Simon always joked you were the unstable one in the family, the black sheep. She said it with zero shame, like she was talking about the weather. I nodded slowly, then stood up. Thanks, I said. For what? For helping me end this. I grabbed the remote off the counter, turned on the TV. The footage from her confession lit up the screen, clear audio playing loud enough to fill the room. Her face went pale before she even processed what was happening. What the hell is that? You. Telling the truth. For once. She stood up so fast the chair screeched. You recorded me? Every second. That's illegal. Not in Arizona. One-party consent. She froze. Her mouth opened like she wanted to scream, but nothing came out. And before you think of running to Simon to flip the story again, don't bother, I added. He already has it. I hit send. The folder went to Simon, and Vivian, and my parents. One clean email, labeled clearly. Subject line, what really happened. Her phone buzzed almost immediately. Then again, then again. No, 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 she whispered, unlocking her screen. Her face turned white. What did you do? Set the record straight. I watched her scroll, tapping frantically, trying to reply to someone, but she wasn't fast enough. You're gonna ruin me, she yelled, panicking now. Simon will kill me. Funny, he didn't ask questions when he punched me in the face. I was desperate. So was I, 7 years ago. Living in a beat-up car, eating gas station sandwiches, watching my life get destroyed over a lie. You had your time. Now it's mine. The door was still open behind her. I didn't tell her to leave. She ran on her own. I shut the door quietly. Didn't even feel triumphant. It was just done. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed. First Vivian, then Simon. Vivian's message just said, oh my God. Simon's? We need to talk. No apology, no self-awareness, just ego bruised and reality creeping in. I didn't reply. Not yet. The next day, I called my lawyer. We filed everything. Full defamation claim. Emotional damage. 7 years of income loss, false social stigma, mental strain. Lily helped organize all the files. Testimonies, text logs, medical reports from that year I broke down, job rejection letters when word got around I had assault history. The lawyer read it and said, they're not getting out of this. Krista tried damage control, posted some vague story online about toxic exes and betrayal from people you trusted. Didn't matter. My proof was airtight. A week later, Simon showed up outside my apartment. I didn't let him in. We talked through the door. You should have come to me back then, he said. I tried. I didn't know. Krista never said, I tried. He went quiet. You were supposed to be my brother, I said. You didn't even ask. I thought you were lying. Of course you did. Is this about money now? I laughed. Like, really laughed. Loud and bitter. No, man. This was never about money. This was about the fact that you let them ruin me, and now you want in on the cleanup. He didn't speak after that. Just walked off. Vivian emailed later. Not even a call. Just said, I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. Too late. I wasn't going to let guilt bribe me back into that family. As for my parents, silence. Complete and total silence. No apology, no call, nothing. Just like back then, they picked their narrative and clung to it like it was gospel. But now, I had the evidence. The court date was set for a few weeks out. Krista's lawyer tried to settle. I declined. She wasn't getting the easy way out. And while I waited for the hearing, I went back to work. Slept better than I had in years. Lily kept things steady. Never once said, I told you so. She just smiled when I walked in that night and said, so what now? And I told her, now we finish what she started. Court was set fast. I had the evidence, the receipts, the footage. Krista showed up with a lawyer and zero confidence. She barely looked up the entire time. My lawyer walked the judge through everything. The lie, the fallout, the recording where she admitted she made it up and knew everyone would believe her. That clip played loud and clear. Her words sealed it. The judge didn't hesitate. She was found liable for defamation and emotional distress. She owed me damages, legal costs, and had to write a formal apology for the record. Simon was there, sat in the back, didn't speak. I didn't acknowledge him until he stopped me outside. I didn't know, he said. I thought I was doing the right thing. You weren't, I said flatly. He nodded. It's not my kid. I got the test. I left her. I didn't say much. I just walked away. No rage, no closure speech. That part of me was already done. Vivian texted a long apology, said she wished she'd handled it differently. I left it on red. My parents didn't say a word. I didn't expect them to. The payout wasn't huge, but it helped. My record got cleared. That fake label, the one that cost me years of my life, finally gone. Krista left town. Word was she moved to Nevada with the baby. Good. Let someone else deal with her chaos. Lily and I moved into a better apartment. She joked about naming a cookie after me when she opened her bakery. I told her only if it tasted like revenge. She said, then it's going to be bitter and satisfying. I laughed for the first time in a long time. The past didn't vanish, but it stopped dragging me down. I didn't need to be forgiven by people who never cared to hear me out. I didn't need to be part of a family that turned on me without a question. I just needed my name back. And I got it. That's all I ever wanted.